Welcome everyone. Welcome to ANCA's Solar Energy Workshop. Tonight is our first experiment in doing multimodal, virtual, web-based PowerPoint presentations. So we hope we can pull it all together, so bear with us if we have some glitches. My name is Ron Running. I'm a member of the ANCA team, and we're grateful that you all could come out tonight and learn more about solar energy power in Redlands. Our speakers tonight would be Mark Cloud from Southern California Edison. He's the government affairs manager there. And Brian Atchley is a local Redlands boy who went up to Chico State University, became a mechanical engineer, and went into the solar energy, working for Tesla, First City, and now Brian has his own consulting firm doing solar projects. He's also kind of an inventor. He's developing roof tiles that will be solar collectors, and his parents, Tom and Nancy, actually still live here in Redlands, and Tom is a retired high school teacher, so many of you or your children probably had Tom as a teacher. And then Dick Cornet is our chairman of Redlands ANCA, and he is going to give us the perspective of a homeowner who has gone solar in Redlands. Dick retired from the city as the water utilities director, right? And he's been one of the founding fathers of our local ANCA program. So I can't reach everything, of course. So first we'll start with Mark speaking on what Edison has to offer, the programs for solar. There was another slide about the number of solar units in Redlands. Good, awesome. So, Mark.
Well, good evening. My name is Mark Cloud. As was stated, I am a government affairs representative from Southern California Edison. You can go ahead and you can call me a spokesole. It's okay. Redlands is one of the cities that I work in, and this is in fact my office is 8 minutes up Lagonia. This is such a great city. I love Redlands. I'm here quite a lot, and I track things that are going on here very, very closely. And let's just say you're doing things better than in other cities. Okay, so this is a great town to be in. My twin brother lives here actually off of Olive Street. He doesn't look like me, so if you see me out there, it's actually me. All right. Now, if you like today's presentation and you like your service with Edison, my name is Mark Cloud. If you don't, it's Jeremy Goldman, and I'll give you my email address. All right. How many folks have solar right now? Anybody? All right. Back there. All right, couple. All right. Well, I'm going to give you a very broad overview of solar at Edison, how to do it, how to get started. We can dig down further if you'd like in the Q&A section. If I don't have an answer for you tonight, I'm going to call up my friend Jeremy Goldman and ask him for the answers, but I'll give it to you right away. I will give you my email address too with this slide deck, so get your pens and pencils out, and if you want to contact me, I'd be happy to take your emails. All right, a quick overview of who we are. We are not PG&E, right? Thank God for that. We are not SDG&E. We are a separate company, Southern California Edison. Been here for about 130 years, a little bit more. And we serve roughly 15 million people across a very wide territory. As you can see there in yellow, that is our territory. And we have roughly 5 million meters. And so we've been here in California for a long, long time, and we'll be here for a long, long time more. And that's a good thing. You want stability and reliability in your electric service. All right, you can't really tell what this is, but this is the city of Redlands circuitry, right? So this is what it looks like. Our engineers, they look at the city and say, where is the power out? They look at your circuit maps, and we very much go off of, all the work we do goes off of these circuit maps. So the detail here is very hard to see, but I just want to give you a quick visual idea about how things look on your local grid. All right, and we give them fun names depending on the area, and we color code them so that we can tell where things are. All right, so that is the circuit map here at Redlands. A very quick overview of where we're going as a utility company. As I'm sure those of you in this room, you're here because you, I'm sure, believe in decarbonization and fighting back against changing weather patterns that are wreaking havoc on California. Well, we do too. And this is some of the work that we're doing over the next few decades, really. And we're going to be investing lots of money into this as well, lots of money, lots of time. We are endeavoring to meet state mandates to get to 80% carbon-free electricity by 2030. I'll show you our numbers in just a second. And then 100% decarbonized energy by 2045. All right, so these are big, big goals. It's not easy to do any of this work. It's going to require a lot of new renewable energy resources built both in cities and outside of cities. It's going to require a lot of new infrastructure that we're getting ready to build. It's going to require new transmission lines because none of this work can be done without new transmission lines. You probably won't get any more here because we just finished a big transmission line project in Redlands, Loma Linda area, a couple years ago called the West of Devers Project. And it's right across from our Mountain View generating station there on Mountain View. And so more projects like that are coming because they have to come in order for us to meet these goals. And this is true for all the other utilities in the state as well. But we are governed by the California Public Utilities Commission and in large part the California legislature. So when they say, Edison, we want you to decarbonize by X date, we say, you got it. And so we're doing our best, and we think we're going to get there, but it's not going to be without a lot of effort. We're decarbonizing electricity mainly through renewable energy and battery storage, etc. But we are also, our big goal, you've probably been hearing more and more about this, electrifying transportation, right? And then electrifying buildings. That's the next frontier. We went from wind and solar. Solar is now normal, and that's why we're here tonight. EVs are becoming normal, and then at some point in the relatively near future, electric buildings will be the new norm. And all of that will be done in order to, again, remove carbon from the energy sector. All right, so this is our 2021 power content label. And we'll be getting into solar in just a second, but I did want you to have an understanding of where we are as a company in regard to some of these issues. Every year we do a look behind. We go a year back and say, what was our power content for the year, in this case 2021. And the green box there is what I wanted to highlight for you. You can see our eligible renewable energy output was 31.4%. 31.4% renewable energy. That is, the state determines and CPUC determines what we can consider eligible renewable. I'll get into that in just a second, but that is what our power supply looks like right now as of 2021. So you can see there's, coal is 0%, which is great. There is, we're still relying on natural gas. Nuclear is a part of our system. And then unspecified power, that is essentially a grab bag of power that we can't determine the source of because it's probably being bought on the daily energy trading market. Energy is traded both in a daily real-time scenario, but it's also purchased through long-term and short-term contracts. And usually when we're buying it on the spot market in real time to meet today's demand, sometimes we can't, we don't have the luxury of finding out exactly where that power is coming from. So that could be anything from nuclear to coal to natural gas to solar or whatever. All right, this is what our total carbon-free total looks like for 2021. And I say, we now say carbon-free because as you see the last two entries there, large hydro and nuclear, carbon-free but not renewable by the state standards. And so those top categories are renewable. Those bottom two, large hydro, nuclear, not, but these are still carbon-free. So we do count them as part of our carbon-free mix, and that's at 42.9%. And these numbers will be growing every year until we hit our goals. All right, anyone recognize this thing? You've got some big, heavy infrastructure in your town here from Edison. This is our Mountain View generating station. It's on Mountain View, where Mountain View meets San Bernardino. And this is a peaker plant. Natural gas plants obviously they're not as popular as they once were. LA County is trying to phase them out. And so we too as a company will be relying less and less on natural gas over time, but it's still a part of our power mix, still a part of our backbone in terms of the reliability we provide for you. And it's plants like this that help us to achieve peak demand days, like hot days in the summer when we're all running our air conditioning systems. Plants like this can be ramped up in 10 minutes and supply power to, in this case, more than 700,000 homes in the area. So it's not running at that capacity all the time, but that's there when we need it. So we still have these plants online, and they'll be online for, I imagine, some time to come, but eventually they probably will, and down the distant path, things like this will be a thing of the past. All right, let's talk about solar. The things that we talk about at solar are, at Edison, a few things we want you to do first before you dive too far deeply into actually hiring a contractor or talking to a contractor. First, we want you to get ready and get informed, and there's a lot of ways you can do that. We want you to learn as much as you possibly can about solar systems and how they're installed, how they work on your home, how best to use them, how to maintain them, before you actually start talking to a contractor. It just makes sense. We want you to get prepared. One of the ways we do that is to get your property as energy efficient as possible. We call it your home's envelope. Is your home sealed properly? A lot of old homes here. Anyone here live in a house that's like over 50 years old? Probably. Anyone live in a Victorian era home? I grew up in one that was very leaky. I was in the attic. My brothers and I were in the attic, converted into a bedroom. Very, very hot space. No central air, and would not have been appropriate for solar system, I can tell you that. So what you should do first for your home is to seal off that envelope. Do as much as you can possibly afford and are able and willing to do to make your home as energy efficient as possible. That could mean dual pane windows on the pricier side. It could mean something as simple as weatherization strips on your doors and windows to keep all the air-conditioned air inside your home. If you're not doing that, what you're basically doing by getting solar is you're generating the electrons from your solar panel and you're basically sending them out your window, which is a complete and total waste. It defeats the purpose. So what we say is get ready and informed, learn as much as you can about solar, I'll give you some resources for that, and then get your property efficient and ready for solar, all right? Now, finding an expert and licensed contractor. Obviously, having a licensed contractor is key, right? You don't want to go unlicensed. I have some stories about hiring an unlicensed guy or two, and I'm sure some of you do too. Not the best experience in the world. And so we highly encourage you to find an expert licensed contractor, a contractor with lots of recommendations from people you trust. And we have on our website, and I'll show you some links here in just a second. We do list contractors that we believe are on the up and up, right? So essentially Edison, not approved, but Edison recommended contractors who can do the work for you. And so just be very cautious because there are a lot of scams in the solar market, a lot in the solar world. It's a bonanza, right? Lots of money is going around. The state's giving out lots of money, or has over the last 20 years to incentivize solar. We've given out lots of rebates. And so whenever you have a bonanza like that, you've got people who want to try and figure out how they can game the system. And believe me, there are contractors who try to do that. So be very careful with who you hire. If they don't pass the smell test when they come into your home, send them seaworthy, okay? Don't hire them. All right, and then finally, if you've never read or heard of this, the California Solar Consumer Protection Guide, very important document. It's not very long, but it's full of information about how you can protect yourself and what laws in California have been passed to protect particularly you as a solar customer. It'll tell you how to protect yourself against Southern California Edison, in fact. So this is very much a great document to read. I would very much encourage you all to find it online and to read it and know how the state protects you as a consumer as a solar customer, right? That's one of the benefits of living in California with some pretty good consumer protection laws out there. This is an example of that. All right, so instead of including links on this slide deck and telling you go to www. I included these QR codes. So if you know how to use them, you can pull out your phone, bring your camera up, and simply tap on the QR code. What's that? And, I'm sorry, yes, and it is on the handout. So you don't have to do it now if you don't want to. I do have handouts over here with all the QR codes we'll be sharing. So just scan the code. It'll take you right to the very web pages I'm referring to you right now. All right, so Our solar billing plan, that's what we're calling it. This was, up until very recently, NEM 2.0, net energy metering. Has anyone ever heard of that term, net energy metering? Some of you, your solar customers, are already on it. Net energy metering has been around for about 20 years, and it was formed in order to, or in part, to help incentivize the mass adoption of solar energy in California, and it worked. Because look how much solar we have now. Everyone's going solar everywhere. Obviously, we still have room to grow in solar in California. On some days, we have so much solar on our system that we actually send it out to other states. So the California system, the California Independent System Operator, which is, we call them CAISO, they manage the flow of electricity in California for all the utilities. They will send solar energy out to even other states when we have too much of it. So there's a lot of solar, but we could, remember, solar is intermittent. It relies on sunshine, so it's not always available, which is why batteries are also important. I'll talk about that in a second too. But this replaces net energy metering 2.0. And this is a very recent change. If you were, just a couple of weeks ago, in fact, this California Public Utilities Commission voted to change the way in which net energy metering works, and the simplest way or the most immaterial way to affect you as new solar customers is the amount of energy or the amount of money that you'll get back from us when you generate an excess amount of electricity and send it back to our system. Because we'll remain, you're not going off grid, we will remain interconnected, which is a good thing. You'll be able to send power back to us when you use more, when you have more, produce more than you use. And we pay you per kilowatt hour. And that's all codified in this contract, the net energy metering contract. So when you go solar, you're basically signing a contract with us, the net energy metering contract that says, here's the rebate amount, here's how big your solar system is. Every net energy metering agreement is custom, right? Because every house is different, every solar system or every solar array is different. It's all based on your usage, your home size, etc. So they recently reduced the amount from something like, well, you don't have to say what you were getting, but do you know what it was? Yeah.
It's 12 cents per kilowatt hour in the off-peak times and 25 cents, basically a 1-to-1 right now, but it'll go down to just 12.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, 12 cents per kilowatt hour. So we give you back, and have been under net energy metering 2.0, we send you back an incentive of less than retail rate for electricity, but it was an added incentive to get people to go solar. And again, it did work. We also, at the beginning, we incentivized folks to rebates that would bring down the price of the actual solar installation itself. And so all of the rebate programs that were rolled out in California from the state, the federal government, all the local utilities really helped to incentivize folks to go solar. And those rebates are still around, but the faster you move, the better the rebates will be, because a lot of the rebates, and even net energy metering at some point may in fact sunset. Meaning, if these things were set up to incentivize folks to go solar and everyone goes solar, then the rebate incentives are no longer needed. And so that's kind of how the industry looks at the rebates that we offer. All right. Although, believe me, we love solar. If you hear any different, it's not true. We are a major purveyor of solar electricity in California. All right, and so you'll notice that first QR code says getting started. That's where you're going to get a lot of the information that I told you about just a second ago, the consumer protection guide, basic information about what your home should look like and how it should function before you go to solar. TOU rates, time of use rates. This is going to be something that you'll be hearing about more and more as all utilities transition into the new kind of energy economy. One way that utilities are responding to an influx of renewable energy is by developing and rolling out what are called time of use rates. And basically what that means is you will pay more for electricity between 4 and 9 p.m., the peak times of the day, and less before and after those time periods, right? So the time of use rates is basically how it works. And again, every customer is different. Everyone's on a different type of rate plan depending on the rate plan that you choose that's right for you based on your energy usage, whether or not you're a solar customer. But time of use rates are coming for everyone. If you don't have them yet, you will be getting them at some point. And solar customers, when you sign up, will be on time of use rates from the very beginning. All right, so very important thing for you to learn about. Basically, it's us saying, let's use our major appliances and charge our EVs before 4 o'clock when everyone gets home and starts ramping up their HVAC when they get home from work, and when everyone starts plugging things in, like their EVs, when they get home from work. That's 4 to 9 is the peak time now in California. Used to be different, but solar, the amount of solar we have actually changed the demand curve that we have in the state, which is incredible. There's so much solar. Energy used to kind of go like this, right? It used to peak, noon to the afternoon, and now it's peaking like this. We call it the duck curve because it kind of looks like a duck in a way. It goes up till 9 o'clock in the evening, and then it drops right off. Or when the sun goes down, it drops right off. All right, and then our solar FAQ, another great document for you. Again, you can, if you don't want to use the QR code, you can simply Google SCE Solar or SCE Solar FAQ. You will find all this information. This FAQ is great. It contains a lot of the basic information you're probably wondering about right now, and it will provide really good answers for you also. Okay, moving on. That's the basic information stuff. SCE also offers, here are the 3 incentives that we offer. Beyond paying you for the amount of electricity that you send back, that's called the energy export credit, right? So that's when you generate more electricity than you use, you send it back to us, and according to the NEM that you sign with us, we give you bill credit. And so that's the energy export credit. Self-generation incentive program, battery storage. It's the new thing in solar energy, which is a fantastic thing actually. It's more and more you're able to kind of package solar and batteries together when you install a solar. And in fact, if you can go with batteries in addition to a solar system, it's great because, of course, batteries are kind of the missing link as it relates to decarbonization, not just of your home, but on the grid large, because the batteries are most certainly needed because solar, of course, only works when the sun is shining. And when it's not shining, no energy is being produced. So batteries have become an incredibly important part of the decarbonization puzzle. And so we're partnering with companies like Tesla and GE to do grid-scale battery storage pilot projects, and we've done a lot of them now. And they're really great. They are these massive cabinets in our substations, and they will hold enough power for, in some cases, thousands of homes. But the battery storage technology is still, for that scale, is still pretty new. And so we are still years away from being able to rely on battery storage for the grid. But for your home, we're getting there. In fact, we're there now. Thank you to, thanks to Tesla and other companies who are making these batteries now accessible. All right, so if you go with the battery storage system too, we'll give you an added incentive. And then finally, for those who are in a lower income bracket, they can also, and they go solar, they get batteries, we also give them an additional credit. So folks who from the lower income areas, they can actually apply for an additional rebate on top of the other rebates that we give. And then the state incentives, they actually give you a tax exemption. It's called the Active Solar Energy System Property Tax Exemption. So that's what the state does, state of California. So I would encourage you, if you are going solar, to consider that without question. That it's going to save you even more money. And you never know how long these incentives last. They kind of go up and down over time. I've seen them come and go. So when the state's giving out money, you should take it. In this case, in the form of a tax exemption. Same thing with the federal incentive. The federal solar tax credit, and I'll read this, allows you to receive a deduction on your federal taxes equal to 30% of your solar panel installation costs. So more tax exemptions from the federal government. When you combine all these together, you're paying less for your solar system, your battery storage system. These are good things. We can't, I wish we could pay for everything, but we can't. I wish we could cover the whole cost of your system. But we are still providing some pretty good incentives to draw down the cost for all of you who want to go solar. I understand we're doing a Q&A after this, so I'll be sticking around. I'll be taking any comments and questions that you have. Again, Mark Cloud if you liked it, Jeremy Goldman if you didn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Now we'll transition into Brian's talk. Brian is located up in Petaluma, and he's doing the climate action thing by staying there and speaking to us tonight. So, Brian, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Let me just turn on my screen here. Is it possible if we could let Amy Ashley in? She helps run our company, and she had some information to share as well. Oh, yeah, we got Amy online, and you guys can see my slides and hear me okay? Great. So I'm Brian Ashley. I grew up on Buena Vista Street. I live in Petaluma now. I've lived in Petaluma for about 10 years. I have about 18 years of solar experience, mostly on the product development side. I've helped with everything from, making equipment that makes the solar cells themselves, to I led the product development team for Tesla's solar roof, and I did work on the Powerwall and the Megapack, which were just mentioned previously. And currently I'm the CEO of one company called the R&D Lab, and we also do business as Amy's Roofing and Solar, and Darling RFS, which is our solar roofing product company. And Amy Ashley, I'll let her introduce herself, but she runs the operations side of Amy's Roofing and Solar.
Hi, I'm Amy. I also grew up in Redlands, so we're very happy to be here tonight. I grew up on Garfield Way, which is right across the street from Cope Junior High School. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, Brian Ashley is the son of Tom Ashley, the teacher at Cope and the former president of the Redlands Historical Society. So I was a teacher for a long time, and then 3 years ago, bumped over to the solar industry, and I've been running a roofing and solar company since then. So that's it. That's me in a nutshell.
One more fun fact about Redlands. The other guy that sits here in the office with us most of the days of the week also grew up on Buena Vista Street. Just total coincidence, but I've worked with him for 10 plus years, with a few gaps in between. But so the big question, I guess, for most of you, all but one, is to solar or not to solar? And I think there's a handful of reasons on each side. For the why to solar, why to get it, the main reasons are carbon emissions and global warming, energy cost control, energy independence, and then also the investment. It is an investment with long-term returns. And then on the why not side, one good reason would be if you live between two giant cypress trees or in a deep canyon, or if you happen to live on Normandy Court, which is a little tiny street in Redlands, California that used to be on my newspaper route. This is a picture of a house on that street. And if you live there, then your house is going to be too pointy and too small to put solar on. It's not going to fit well. And money is a primary reason that people bring up for why to not get solar, which the interesting thing about that is that money is the reason that people get solar. And so it's just a matter of, and some people think you have to have money to get solar, you have to have the cash to make the investment. And it is true that you're going to get a better rate of return if you get solar with cash. But there are options out there, like power purchase options and financing options, that can provide a positive rate of return where you're not using your money, where you're financing it. That's a lot harder now with interest rates so high. But I know historically that has been the case. And then what about if your roof is in bad shape? Should you get solar or should you not get solar? In my mind, it's kind of a trick question. I would recommend that when your roof is in need of replacement, that's the perfect time to get solar. You should get your new roof with solar, and ideally you should try to find a contractor who can do both jobs, so that if there are any issues, you don't have any finger pointing down the line, and your warranties are all going to hold up and everything like that. So yeah, that's the to solar or not to solar. So some of you might be asking, if I get solar, is it actually going to make a difference? Does solar make a difference? And to that, I wanted to share this graph. The answer is yes. This graph is based on real data up through about 2020, 2021, when, for the dates that we have data. And it shows real growth rates. We've been on a trajectory of exponential growth in solar for a handful of decades, and if we maintain that growth, then we'll be able to meet all of our demand for energy with solar by 2043. Yeah, we are, that's the track that we're on. So to battery or not to battery. The main reason, and we're a contractor as well. I've done product development, we're also a contractor, and so we see customers choosing batteries and things like that all the time. I would say the main reason that people get solar or batteries is for the security. They want to feel secure. They want it for backup in the event of an emergency, like an earthquake, or to deal with grid outages. And in Petaluma here, there are several customers who have well water, and so they don't want to lose water if the utility shuts the power down in a situation where the grid is strained, especially in late fall when it's hot and air conditioners are straining the grid the most. So those are the primary reasons, I think, is security. There are financial benefits. I think it was noted before that the utility is going to pay you now. The average is between 4 and 8 cents a kilowatt hour, depending on timing. But for that same kilowatt hour, if you consume it, you're going to pay about 50 cents per kilowatt hour, just roughly. It's not a fixed rate, it varies based on time, but that's about the average rate. And so with a battery, you can set it up so that that kilowatt hour, instead of exporting it to the grid for 6 cents a kilowatt hour, you can consume it later and displace what would have been a 50-cent cost per kilowatt hour. So the other reason, so when it comes to why not to get a battery, the one really good reason is the costs are going down dramatically. Solar costs have gone down by 100x in the last 40 years. In the last 10 years, it's been something like 10x. And batteries are just getting onto that trajectory. And so in the next 10 years, there's going to be drastic cost differences. So if you're not worried about the earthquake, or if you're feeling secure, you could definitely sit tight. But yeah, if you want one, they fit on most houses. They're easy to integrate. And we can talk more about this when we get to questions. But that's to battery or not to battery. Now I wanted to kind of go into a bit about technology, and I'm going to talk about modules and battery technology. Starting with modules, this is a slide from a deck that was produced for financing giant solar arrays in the desert. So basically, banks are out there and they're financing all kinds of systems all over the country, and so they do third-party testing of modules. And so there are many, many module companies out there in the world, and there are a lot of them that make great products. The way that we choose modules as a contractor for our customers is we look to these kinds of third-party analyses. And the top three here we have Longi Solar, Trina Solar, and JA Solar. PVEL, which is a company they're here in Napa, nearby us. They also do third-party testing, and Q-Cells is on there, Jinko Solar is on there, SunPower is on there. There are a lot of different companies, but I'd recommend that if you're working with a contractor and the module company sounds weird, look it up and find a third party like the PVEL Module Reliability Scorecard or something like this to vet it. There's a lot of good stuff. A lot of the really big companies like Sunrun and Tesla, they have huge budgets, and so they can afford to do their own testing, third-party testing. Like when I was at Tesla, we did that. We outsourced third-party tests to make sure that we were selling quality modules. But the small shops like ours, we're just it's Amy's Roofing and Solar, and that's Amy right there. So we rely on published data for what makes a quality module. So current battery technologies. There's not a lot of chemistries out there, but it might seem like there are. Most of them on the market are lithium polymer or lithium iron phosphate. Tesla uses a lithium polymer, and Enphase uses a lithium iron phosphate, and probably you guys don't care about chemistry. Probably you care more about, who makes good batteries. There are other players like LG that, they make TVs and stuff like that. Generac, the generator company. But when it comes to batteries, these are the two that I recommend. LG and Generac are both big companies with big budgets, and they've had recalls and problems with their batteries. And so all the smaller companies that, like Franklin, and there's a whole bunch of other names that I see get presented and that are marketed to me to sell all the time. And I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole because batteries, it's expensive to develop. And, if you're LG, you can afford a recall, but if you're a little tiny company in Texas, you probably can't. Now these are kind of to show you what the experience of having a solar system is like. These are screenshots from my phone app of our Enphase solar system. And this shot here shows you like a graphical image of your solar panels. And these light blue colors here are panels that produced a lot of power that day. And these dark blue ones, they were in a shadow. They're on a wall. And so they don't make nearly as much as these other ones. And then this other graph, you could see how the energy peaked, at the middle of the day at noon, and then dropped back off, and then this is right where I captured the data. And then this other picture here shows you what in your house is using power moment by moment. So I can see how much my solar is producing, but I can also see how much my house is consuming. And this is most all the solar systems out there have some kind of app that goes with it, and this is what the Tesla app looks like, and this is also our house. And this graph here shows you, where all the energy is going and where it's coming from. So this is the solar power that we generated. The blue represents what went to our house, the green represents what went to our battery, and the gray represents what we exported to the grid. This image here shows you like a graphic of where the energy is going, and so you can see at this moment all the solar energy is going into our house. Well, 0.8 kilowatts is going to our house, and 0.6 kilowatts is going into the grid. And then this is what it looks like when you are off grid. It's like a simulated grid outage. In this scenario, I actually flipped the breaker. There was nothing wrong with our system or with the utility, but I turned off the breaker to show you what it's like. And I get a message on my app, and it says there's been a grid outage, and it tells me I've got 18 backup hours remaining, and this changes live throughout the days for as long as the outage is going on. And in this scenario, this is at the evening. It's like 6:43 p.m. is about when I did this. And so you can see we're not making a lot of solar, but this is enough this is enough energy to get us through the night, and then when the sun comes back up in the morning, it'll keep the house going and the battery charged again. Now I'm going to open up a proposal. This is a proposal that's actually, I built it for a house on Buena Vista Street, and I'm going to skip to the end, but if there are questions on it, we can pull this open later. I'm going to skip to the end, the good bit, the bit that everyone wants to know about, which is what does it cost and what does it pay? And I built this for a 12 panel plus a battery. This is what we're looking at right now. And here you can see what it costs is $38,000, $38,794. And you can see it pays for itself in 12 years. And I can switch and show you, if I only get 12 panels, then the payback is in 9 years. So a little bit better payback, but my total savings for the life of the system is lower. It's only $18,000, where with the battery, I was making $25,000. That's my total return on the system. And then with 18 panels, you know, an 8-year and 11-month payback, so an even better payback than 12 panels. And this is about, 18 panels is about 100% of this home's usage. So it's, you know, as big as you'd want to size it. And then 18 panels plus a battery. You can see $42,900 for 18 panels plus 1 Tesla Powerwall, and payback is in 11 years. Another thing I wanted to say about proposals, there's a lot in them. Like, ask your contractor or whoever is giving it to you to go over it with you. And do spend some time on it, because there's a lot of details in here. You know, they have old bill, new bill. This is, you can see the credit you're getting from exporting versus just self-consuming the power here in yellow. I don't want to dwell on that too long, but feel free to ask questions about that later. And then I had, to finish off, I had a few words about choosing a contractor. Similar to what was said before, you know, have a look at the California Consumer Protection Guide. I wanted to give you some figures. If you're getting an estimate, it should be between $3 and $5 a watt. Otherwise, it's probably too high. That's for the solar only part of it. A battery is not included in that, but those are average figures based on the National Renewable Energy Lab's database of what it costs people to get solar all over the country. And the reason that there's that wide band is that if you have a really small solar system, like let's say you're only getting 3 kilowatts or 4 kilowatts, it's going to be on the higher end of that range because you're not able to amortize costs for like certain pieces of equipment or even the contractor's overhead. And so really big systems end up being lower costs and really small systems end up being higher costs. And then also steep roofs and 2 stories and things like that can add costs as well. Other bits that I would add to what was already said about choosing a contractor, ask if they do the installs themselves or if they subcontract it. A lot of the people that are knocking on doors are only salesmen, and they are just trying to generate a lead that they're going to pass on to somebody else. If they can make a sale to you, and then basically they can't stand for the quality that's going to be installed because they're not playing any part of it. They're not the contractor, they're just a salesperson. So make sure you check on that. And then another thing is that in California, you're entitled to a 10-year workmanship guarantee. So ask them what their workmanship guarantee is. And if it's anything less than 10, you should find somebody else. And I think that's all we had. Yeah, ready for questions after Ron.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian and Amy. Now we'll go for Dick's presentation from the viewpoint of a homeowner.
Okay, I'm going to start out with giving you some data on Redlands. Total installations in Redlands through April 2023 are 5,050. So 5,050 installations in Redlands. And the data I obtained from 2011 to 2022, it increased from 68 installations in 2011 to 954 last year. And this year already there's 400. So it's going up every year and it increased every year. And if you look at the total single-family dwelling units in Redlands is about 18,000. You know, it's about 20-25% probably, because this is the total installation. Some of it might be commercial, but right now in Redlands we're doing pretty good with respect to that type of information and data. Want to make sure I get the right one here. So, one thing I wanted to point out is that the information I got off of Edison's website was that they have about 500,000 solar installations and agreements that they have. They have 5 million accounts, so that's about 10% of their accounts are on solar now. So you heard this before, but there's 3 ways you can buy a system or install a system. One is to own a system, and that's by far the most popular and the most beneficial. You can lease a system and And when you own a system, you can finance it too, of course. You can finance it as a system, just like a mortgage, you can finance it. You can lease the system from the provider, and they'll charge you a certain amount every month. Or then there's something called a power purchasing agreement, which is they'll pay you so much per kilowatt hour, or a fixed rate every month. And that I don't think is as popular. Oops. Oh yeah. Okay, so no, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Okay, so why did I elect to own my system? This is my house, and it's a 2-story house, and the solar system's up here on the top, you can see. There's 13 panels, but the reasons I did it was, boy, the tax credit is great. It's right off the bottom line of your taxes. You can take 30% of the cost, so you save 30% of the cost of your installation right away, and that still applies, as Mark mentioned. I had the money in the bank, so I didn't have to finance it. That was a good reason. The company I bought from has a 25-year warranty, product warranty, and a 10-year installation warranty. So they warrant the actual panels and everything, and inverters and things for 25 years. The firm I bought from is a local firm. They're here in Redlands. I thought that was good, so I could get service. By the way, I thought the warranty was good, so I wasn't concerned about maintenance of the system, because I thought the warranty would cover problems. If I had any problems, I could just call for the warranty, and they'd come out and do it. And that happened once when I had one issue, and they came right out and fixed it. I get the benefit of all the power I produce. I don't share that with anybody. I get the benefit for that. And there's no issue with selling your house. If you lease a system, you can have an issue with if the change of ownership, who has to pay off the lease for the system. If you own it, it's your system. So that's a good thing too. This is a picture of the panel actually on the side of my house. This is Edison's panel, and these are the other ones. So I'm going to give you some specifics here on what I paid. So I went with SunPower. I did get 3 quotes, and I went with SunPower. There's by Seabright Solar. They're here in Redlands. They're on Industrial Way. I have 13 360 watt, producing 7,800 kilowatts per year. That's about 10% more than I would use on the average. So you probably add a panel or 2, so make sure you cover your usage. This last year, the production was 8,000 kilowatt hours, so it's higher than they projected. The cost when I bought it in 2018 was $19,100, and with my 30% tax credit, effectively it was $13,400. My payback period is 5 to 6 years. Based on that and my usage, and I produce more power than I use, and I haven't had an SCE bill for the last 5 years. Covers my billing cost. The only thing that is charged is billing. It's like $11 or $12, but the credits that I get more than cover that. And for the first year, so I have credits built up, and I haven't had a bill I haven't paid to Edison. So that's what I wanted to just tell you, that it works. I'm really happy, and there's many options you can have, but I think the ownership option for me was definitely the best, and I'd recommend that if you can afford it. So thank you.
Thanks, Dick. This has been really informative. Now we'll turn it over to you for questions, and I'll repeat your questions so Brian and Mark and Dick can respond. Any questions? Yes?
I have a question for Dick, but maybe it can be for others too.
Yes?
Are you retired?
Yes.
Were you retired at the time of installing this?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm curious about getting the tax rebate, or it's a tax credit, it's not a rebate. So you have to owe taxes in order to take advantage of it.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I'm wondering, how did that affect the money that you got back, given that maybe you weren't paying as much in taxes as you would have?
I was paying more than enough to make it worth, worth my while. Yeah, no, that wasn't an issue at all, honestly, but you're absolutely right. If you don't owe any tax, you don't get it back for that year. You know, it's a one-time thing.
And it rolls over for 2 years. So
Oh, okay, mine, I took it all in 1 year, and you probably could do it.
So if you don't pay enough in 1 year, it can roll over for 1 more, but that's it.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
That's good to know.
good question. Monty?
Question for Mark. I understand that Edison is going to charge, whether you're sending your electricity or not, but you're going to clock them out, and you're going to charge the fees to be hooked to Edison.
Sure.
What do you do?
So there are fees, you'll notice as Edison ratepayers, and I'm on a different company that, where I live, but same thing there. There are added fees on top of the energy usage. Anyone know how Edison makes money? Want to take a stab at that? You know how we make money as a company?
Return on investment on the infrastructure that you own.
That's right. You work for the CPUC? Oh my gosh. Edison does not make money by selling electricity, believe it or not. So when our rates go up, it's not because we're trying to earn more profit from selling folks energy. Those are pass-through costs. Those are costs that we only charge you what it costs to get the energy to your home. Now, that leaves all the rest of the grid upgrades and grid maintenance fees still left out there to pay, right? So that's when you see a lot of added fees. Whenever you see added fees on your bill outside of your KWH usage, that's to pay for things like wildfire mitigation work. It's to pay for things like transitioning from coal to renewable energy. It's to pay for things like new transmission lines that will get us to where we're going. All of this stuff is not cheap, and so that's why you're now seeing bills change as a result of this new, really big transition into renewable energy and electrifying buildings, etc. So the fees pay for that maintenance. Yes.
About $50 a month?
Everyone's different, so I couldn't tell you, on average what folks are paying necessarily, but that sounds right. I'm sure that sounds about right. Yeah, for a residential account. Yeah.
Would you please explain a little more detail the property tax exemption on the house that has solar system?
Oh man, we're gonna need a tax expert now, I think. Oh shit, actually, I can't. I don't know much about it. Obviously, I don't have solar, I've never used it. Perhaps Dick, do you know much about that?
I know what it is.
Somebody else used it. Oh, Amy, was that
I
Amy?
do. I know what it is. Yeah,
All
the
right,
property
Amy.
tax exemption, it basically says that when you buy solar, that, let's say you spend $30,000 on solar, your property taxes won't go, your assessment on your house won't go up by that much. So you're not paying taxes on that extra $30,000, even though it actually adds value to your home. You don't have to pay taxes on that added value.
You have to report that, though, to the assessor.
You have to permit the property, the building permit, they would get that value, and then you're exempted.
Does the building permit vary by how many panels you're getting?
Sure, the larger the array, it would cost more to install. Dollar?
Also, can I chime in there? There is actually a maximum that they're allowed to charge you for solar permits. It's like, I think it's $452 is the maximum in California.
Yes, sir.
This is for Amy. When we were listening to his estimate in 2018, it sounded rather low to me because all my neighbors are spending 75 grand to do solar systems even without batteries. And because the batteries have jumped hugely in price, haven't they? That's the complaint I hear. So what is it? Is it like 2,000 a panel? I've tried to figure this out because it does work out some way that way, right?
Yeah, it depends on how big your system is, because actually the bigger your system is, the cheaper it gets, right? Because all of that overhead and stuff goes on that first panel, and then every panel after that is just cheaper and cheaper. But you can kind of like ballpark it at $1,000 a panel.
Okay.
And panels, yeah. ahead.
If you don't want to ballpark it, use the dollar per watt figure though.
Yeah, dollars per watt is better. Like if you have a 5 kilowatt system, which is kind of a smallish average system, that's 5,000 times 3, which is 15,000, to 5,000 times 5 to 25,000. So if you want like a smallish system, it's going to be between $15,000 and $25,000.
The panels, by the way, have different output too. Certain panels have higher output in kilowatts, or they generate more energy than others too. That's more efficient. And the location on your house. If you have a real sunny location on your house, you're going to produce a whole lot more energy. And that's my case, by the way. I've got this a lot in the afternoon. I get the solid sun, so it's really pretty good.
Amy, one last question. I have a large property. I'm not keen about somebody going into a tile roof and setting little posts in there, because I know that can be challenging. Is it cheaper just to put it on raw land? Because I have a big backyard, an acre.
Yeah, so yeah, you have place. It really depends on it could be around the same price. It could be a little more or a little less. It's kind of, it just depends on your situation. Tile roofs do cost a little bit more to put solar on because it's harder to put solar on it without breaking your tiles. It's more labor intensive. And then ground mounts are a pretty good option if you, like, what's your soil like on your land? It's sort of like depends on that kind of stuff.
It's like red and clay like.
Oh yeah, that's Redlands. Yeah, it's clay.
I wanted to add a little bit to that question as well. It's harder to find contractors that do ground mount. And so that's a big reason why you might have a hard time finding a good price for it. But we do ground mount as well, and when we do ground mount, we're typically cheaper for ground mount. But I would say also our ground mount systems tend to be big, like over 10 kilowatts, between 10 and 15 kilowatts, which that helps amortize a lot of those costs and helps keep it low. We've done ground mounts below $3 a watt. We're definitely like being flat-footed on the ground installing solar. But we have 2.5 acres here, and all our solar's on the roof.
Okay, we'll go on this side. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a question about the net metering, and that I guess the new iteration that happened like 2 weeks ago or a month ago.
Yeah.
In the previous 2 iterations, you were limited on the number of panels to about what your usage was, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think I read on this new one that you can ask for 50% more under certain situations, but I didn't see any description of what those situations might be. If you can make a case for it, you can get 50% more panels than previously. What are some examples of things you could say, like converting from gas to electric, or what are some things you could say?
Well, one thing that we're really interested in these days is getting more and more electric vehicle charging out there. So that's one reason why you might consider getting a larger system, because EV chargers can pull a lot of electricity. So it's things like that, appliances that might actually pull in more electricity than perhaps a normal home would. But it's a case-by-case thing, so you'd have to talk to our folks to find out exactly what.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you just make your case, and then they either approve it or don't approve it?
Yeah. We look at every individual customer's solar application very, very closely. So everyone is different. So the sizes of them are different, the way they're oriented are different, whether on the roof or on the ground. We look at everything, and so we will consider those kinds of things also, your usage. Yeah.
Is it up to 50%, or is it just?
I haven't heard 50%. I haven't heard that, but I can find out. But it is, you can do more now under the new net energy meter, which is a good thing for folks, right? Who want to, yeah.
I was just going to respond to that question, which is I don't think there was a limit in NEM 2.0. It was just that you're getting the same rate of return for the excess that you're generating, and under 3.0, you only get a fraction of that return, so it disincentivizes you from overproducing. But I don't think there was any rule about how many panels you can have. So some companies that quoted me put mocked up a thing with panels on every side of my house, and it would have been way more power than I needed. So there's no rule about it. It's just really finding that kind of like,
Okay, yeah, I
We'll
did
start
like,
powering it,
Yes.
a server farm or
glance
something
at
underneath the
at
ground.
the website, so I thought I read that the first two, you were limited, but I definitely be wrong.
Over here, yes.
About 2 years ago, I told the phone company to go away and canceled the phone, because I have a cell phone. Last year, I told the cable company to go away, pound sand, because I do streaming now. What's preventing me from saying, Edison, it's been fun, but our relationship is over. I want to cut the cord, go solar for my whole self. What's preventing me from doing that?
Yeah, so, so one of the things is we in cities that the cities that we partner with and fire departments are very concerned about fire risks associated with systems that are off on their own. That's one concern, believe it or not, is and that's why you have to get did you have a fire department come out and check your system before? Every solar system has to have a sign off from the local fire department. It's really hard to go off grid when you're in a metropolitan area. It just is. So you'd have to do several things, I think, to actually go off grid.
So the fire department, and what else? Do I lose incentives? Do I lose my tax credit?
Do you use your tax credit to do what?
Do I lose my tax credit?
Oh, lose. I don't think so. I don't think you'd lose it. That is a state program and a federal program, but I don't think you would lose it. I would imagine that the state's interested in you going solar regardless. So you probably would still have access to it, I would imagine.
Okay, so I have the fire department come out and check my system. I haven't put in my licensed solar contractor. I own it. It's mine. Nothing else is preventing me from cutting the cord.
It's not really, no. I mean, you'd have to have battery storage would also be very helpful to pair with your system, obviously, right? So you want to have that too. Solar does not the thing is, a lot of folks remain on our system because they're not able to necessarily produce, in some cases, enough solar for their demand. That's for commercial customers, residential customers. Sometimes they can, and they send it back to us. Sometimes they can't, and they want to remain on the system, right? For essentially backup power, right? So, yeah.
This is a consumer satisfaction report, so I'm not sure it's okay to hear, but one of our most long-standing companies here at Redlands is Ferguson's, and they do our AC and heating. They're doing solar now. Does anybody have experience with them? And say thumbs up or thumbs down?
Our neighbors across the street had it installed about 6 to 8 months ago, and they're extremely happy.
I have a neighbor too that used Ferguson.
Great. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what we hear. Thank you.
Related question. We were approached by Sunrun. Young gentleman spoke very fast. And I wasn't sure I got the gist of it, but it sounded as if we were to give up Edison and start paying Sunrun. Of course, the question that flashed in my mind was, okay, what if we have a number of cloudy days? And I was very confused by it. Can you clarify, please?
Well, I'll try to answer the question. Just hearing about your particular situation. Your question is, how can you pay someone like that if you have this lease situation going when the sun's not shining? Is that the question?
Well, we would not have Edison as backup then.
You're still connected to us, right? You're still connected to us. Related to the question back here about going off grid, you're still connected to the Edison system, whether you go solar or not. Or if you go solar, you're still on our grid, which is a good thing when the sun's not shining, especially if you don't have a battery storage backup system. And even if you did, it's still a good thing, I think, to be on our system in case there are, for example, technical problems with your solar system or if maintenance issues come up and take you offline. I think having both options is probably a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you. In terms of seeing the evaluation of the cost effectiveness of solar system, I've heard like $3 per kilowatt as a measure. I also heard so many cents per kilowatt hour in terms of the long 25 years of power generation. Which one is a good measurement?
This is a great question for Amy, I think, on the line.
Sure. So kilowatt is the size of your system. So like your solar panels, if they're, if you have 400 watt panels and you have 4 times what's a good number? You have 20 of them. You're on mute. You have 20 of them, then you have, what is that? Okay, 6 kilowatts, there we go. So that's what a kilowatt is. So when you're looking at your bid, like somebody might give you a 5 kilowatt system, somebody might give you a 7 kilowatt system, and then you could just say, okay, well a kilowatt is 1,000 watts, and so I multiply that by 3 to 5 to get like how much this whole system should cost. A kilowatt hour is actually a measurement of how much energy you're using in a certain amount of time, or producing. Does that make sense? I know it's taken me like 3 years to like understand this, but basically, so kilowatt hour, like you're saving yourself like 50 cents a kilowatt hour by getting solar, or you're paying, you would be paying your Southern California Edison 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So like when you look at your usage on your utility bill, it'll always give you kilowatt hours. So like you're probably using 800 kilowatt hours a month or something like that. Does that answer your question? They're both good, but they're different measurements. They're different numbers.
Thank you to clarify that. So if somebody say, okay, your investment, say this year, is going to be 15 cents per kilowatt hour over the duration of the life of the solar system, and then you are paying 12 cents or 24 cents kilowatt hour to Edison, there's a decision to make which make economical sense, correct?
I think I might need somebody to repeat the question because I couldn't totally hear it.
I understand for some investment you see the effectiveness of your money, where the money goes. And then this is a simple way I think. If I pay Edison company 12 cents or 18 cents or 24 cents per kilowatt hour, but over the long haul of investment on the solar, the total cost will be say 15 cents or 10 cents per kilowatt hour, then I have some kind of measurement to make judgment.
Yeah, I think I get it. So, and here, she's right. Essentially, the thing that you pay for, to the utility is a kilowatt hour. And so that is the thing, that is the metric that you want to make your financial decision based on. Like if you take that solar panel, let's say you take your solar system that makes 5 kilowatts, and you turn it upside down and put it on your roof, it's going to make 0 kilowatt hours. And so that would be a terrible investment. And so it's useful to talk about kilowatts because we know the prices of them and such. But at the end of the day, your investment is in the energy that the system is going to produce over its lifetime, which is the number of kilowatt hours it will produce over its lifetime, compared to the price that you're paying for a kilowatt hour today and then into the future. So that is the better metric to make an investment decision based on.
I don't think so, thank you.
Yeah, and what you can do is look at your bill and you'll see the rate, the kilowatt hour rate during the day to make that judgment.
But usually when you approach by the salesperson, they should give you analysis of the lifestyle.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the graph that I showed in the proposal, that payback is based on the kilowatt hours. It's based on the real production, the analysis of what using ephemeris, the solar position calculations, and weather data and things like that. It's calculating how many kilowatt hours we expect your system to make. So the value of the system in kilowatt hours. that is how the proposal is looking at it.
Yeah.
And then,
So if you're looking at, if you're looking at, investing in solar, if you're looking at getting solar system on your roof, and they're telling you it's 15 cents per kilowatt hour, well, the other option is to pay 50 cents per kilowatt hour to the utility company. And like the utility company, sorry, Mark, their rates are not gonna go down. They're only gonna go up over time. And so it does end up being even a better deal than what is usually proposed because of that. Because unless they're already considering that the utility is gonna be increasing by 3 or 5 or 11%, a year.
okay, I've got a question that I'll interject right now about the cost of batteries. What would be a ballpark budget for a battery system? Is it a certain percentage of the overall system, or how would we budget for that?
Do you want me to do that, Amy, or? Yeah, that's a harder one, because so much of the battery cost is installation. I was looking at that just before this meeting, and I think a round number would be $1,600 per kilowatt hour. I think when we sell a Tesla Powerwall, it's about $23,000 or $22,000. And more than half of that is installation costs, because there's the battery, and then there's also a transfer switch that automatically detects when the grid goes down and switches onto the battery. And then there's a whole bunch of other work we have to do with moving your loads around to make sure that it functions smoothly. Like if you have a hot tub, we don't want the hot tub running after the grid goes out and killing your battery. So we've got to do a lot to move things around. But $1,600, about that. That's the best they can do on dollars per kilowatt hour.
Okay, that helps. Yes, sir, in the back?
I had a question for the contractors. Single inverters versus micro inverters. It seems like the industry has gone to micro inverters. Is that kind of the wave, and the advantages and disadvantages of both?
Yeah, and for reference, Enphase is in Petaluma, and I know a bunch of people. I've met a bunch of engineers there. And Enphase is like the largest company with the greatest market share on the microinverter side. My view is that both have their place. We use microinverters whenever there's a lot of shade, or if there's a lot of really small facets on the roof where we've got to have arrays pointed in different directions. But we also use string inverters on houses that don't have a lot of shade and have bigger full sun kind of situations. And in that scenario, they're 30, 40 cents a watt cheaper to go with a string inverter. So string inverters can be much more affordable, and they work just great. But if you have shade and weird cut up arrays, then microinverters work great for that. And like I showed, we have both at our house. One out in the shade over there in the corner, and then one in full sun.
Excellent. Wendy?
Well, when I got my new roof a couple years ago, they said putting solar panels on it would invalidate the 25-year warranty. Have you heard of that?
On your roof, you're talking about invalidating the warranty on your roof?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So we were
That's one reason why it's a good idea to get, if you have to get a roof anyway, get a roof installer from the same contractor, because then you don't get one of these, if something happens. Usually solar doesn't actually cause problems unless it's installed incorrectly or somebody makes a mistake. And that's not common, but if it does happen, that's another reason I think somebody was talking about getting work done from a local contractor versus like a big contractor who just somebody that knocks on your door that is just looking for a paycheck basically, because those people the people that are selling it to you don't have any accountability to you for how good of a job that they do. And so if you go with a more local company, like somebody that you can call up and you get somebody on the phone, then you'll have more accountability for that kind of thing. But that is true. If you there are products like this one behind me that they're co-warranted, but for the most part, roofing manufacturers, the warranty is void when you put solar on it. The manufacturer's warranty. I do know GAF is the largest roofing manufacturer in the country, and they have like sort of certified installers, and so they have like certain deals with their installers. If you do X, Y, and Z, then we will continue to warranty this roof for you. You have to like, ask the contractor about that.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a question for Amy. Have you ever had a client who installed solar panels on a tree house?
Did you hear that?
Have I ever had a client that installed solar panels on a what?
Tree house.
Tree house? The tree house?
Yes.
Oh.
You know the ones in Redlands?
No, but you could. You absolutely could.
All I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How much maintenance is there, housekeeping question, how often do you have to clean your solar panels? And number two, would you have more breakage or panel replacement if you're on the ground or on your roof? Is there a difference of maintenance?
For the solar panels specifically?
Yeah.
So we recommend to our customers to just hose off their panels about once or twice a year. We have, where we live, we have like fire season and we have like pollen season, and so, it's a good idea to sort of hose it off. We don't generally recommend getting up on the roof, because when you get up on the roof, let's say you have an asphalt shingle roof or a tile roof, you're more likely to do damage to the roof itself, and so it actually functions really well just to like stand on the ground and hose them off from the ground. So that's the first question. And then the second question was, Brian, you might be better to answer that one. Like as far as
let me repeat it. Yeah, are they more likely to get damaged on the ground or on the roof? In California, there's not a lot of things that damage solar panels. My suspicion is the ground would be worse, because people are going to bump into it or crash into it with their tractor or their car or something like that, or hit it with a baseball. Yeah, if you were near a golf course, I guess that would be a reason why it would get damaged on your roof in California. But yeah, wind and hail are the big destroyers of solar panels in other parts of the country, and we don't have any of that anywhere in California.
With the hard water deposits, if I spray my roof with hard water, is it gonna ruin my panels?
If you spray the panels with water, are you gonna ruin it? No, they can handle that just
You
fine.
have hard water.
The question was, with the hard water in Redlands, would that be a problem?
Oh, hard water deposits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. You could add some soaps and things like that so that it does take the stains off. Yeah, if you can see a stain, then it will reduce solar output. But like we have well water here, and so we have a lot of minerals, and I don't hesitate to wash our panels off. And I don't, after I spray them, they end up looking much, much cleaner than before I sprayed them, and that's good enough. They don't need to look perfect. It's not like you're washing the windows at a kitchen where you want them to look shiny, or the mirror in your bathroom. They don't need to be spotless to be making nearly 100% of the energy that they're meant to.
I would say too that there are people that would go up there and wash your solar panels, like with a squeegee and a kind of a mop thing. You can do that. We just
you can hire people.
Yeah, you can do that.
No.
No, I wouldn't hire people.
I was just going to make a comment that I expected tonight to get the pep talk on we all need to do this, and I haven't heard one of you say anything about that. But that's just one comment. The thing I want to say is, you take people our age and you say, because I think you're selling to people your age who are going to live in that house a long time, and I don't think I could ever live long enough to get my payback on it. So what do you say to different age people, and if someone buying my house will really value it and that?
Did you follow her question?
Yeah, that's
How did you sell
that's
it
a
to
great
your
question.
parents?
Actually, I would be super interested. I would like to turn it around and be super interested and ask you what why you are here. Like, why are, like, do you feel like this needs to be done? And if so, why? Because my answer would be, I believe in a sustainable future. Do you believe in a sustainable future? And if the answer is yes, then make the next step forward. But I try in my business not to tell people what I think they should do. I try to just give them the information and let them make the decision for themselves. But I would be super interested to hear what you guys have to say, like your answer to that question.
I have read that it adds value to your house when you sell it. It adds, I just saw something recently, it was something like 17% more, and people really want it. So it does add value to your, you can more than recover your investment when you sell your house, I think.
Yes, sir.
Battery lifetime
What's the lifetime of a battery?
for maybe EV.
They come with they have a 10-year guarantee typically, and it will depend on how you use it. Like if you're cycling it every single day, you're gonna get the 10 years. And at 10 years, it's gonna be 80% of its original energy capacity. But yeah, they can go much beyond. Like at 80%, that's the warranted amount of energy that they're meant to hold. But they'll keep going for beyond that.
Yes, sir.
Generally, when you do construction on your house, there's a return on the investment. So, you might get landscaping, you put 10 grand in, you might get 12 grand back on that, a lot or less. So how does that work with solar? As for her response there, besides the environment, in 8 years these things are paid off. So you got to think, am I going to live there in 8 years? I'm really going to get a benefit. And also, if you sell, and you said that there is, people value that, I'm just wondering how much more is it, like 40%?
In the national numbers, it's different based on where you are, but in national numbers, it's 3 to 5% of your home value is added. So if your home is worth $500,000, then it adds $15,000 to $25,000 to the home value.
So like 40% or something. Because how much are
Basically, if you put solar on your house today and you sell it tomorrow, it'll pay for itself in most cases.
What's the average ones that you guys are selling up there? I don't know, if it's as hot as down here. This is the desert here.
It gets pretty hot up there.
Does it?
What was the question?
I'm just wondering what the average price is, because you guys are selling a unit a week, and is it 50 grand, most of them, or like I said, my neighbors are spending 75, it seems like. And
It's a range. It's from 16,000 on the low end to 100,000 on the high end.
what's 100,000 commercial building?
Yeah, but I mean, even some residences that look like commercial buildings.
Well, what about a 2,500 square foot house, which is kind of like the average out here?
Yes. Yeah, a typical system would be 6 kilowatts, and that would sell for $350 a watt, and so that would be $21,000.
Wow. And then a third off that.
Yeah, if your neighbor is spending $75,000, it's either a very large system or they're getting some kind of financing.
No, you're paying cash.
Yeah, so then it's a really big system, I imagine. Or they're getting a really bad price.
Well, they have a pool also. Pools take a lot of energy.
Yeah, pools and kilns and hot tubs, electric cars, those all take a lot of energy.
Okay, Wendy?
Any solar gazebos out there that you recommend?
What was that?
Solar gazebos.
Ooh, dang. I built a few in my time, and I'd recommend those, but there's no one that really produces a solar gazebo at scale that I would recommend. Sadly. It's one of those products that I wanted to do forever.
And a tree house.
Yes, sir.
Actually, can't call it, but you see, the change in solar technology.
Yeah, the question is, what's the future hold for technology? What's coming up next?
What's coming up next? I'm going to a conference at the National Renewable Energy Lab in September, and the topic is solarizing everything. And I think you are going to see solar on everything more and more, and batteries on everything. But also in the vein of just electrifying the home. We've got electric vehicles, heat pumps instead of air conditioning, induction stoves instead of gas stoves, and then heat pumps for water heating instead of gas. So electrifying the whole home, I think, is the very near future.
I know that over the last few years, when I was being approached, they'd ask me what my average monthly bill was, and I tried to be very conservative, and it never penciled out. But the last year, the costs went up so much that now it's easy to pencil out. So, okay, Iris, we'll do one more question, and then we'll wrap up.
Do you see the price of battery going down sharply in the next 3-5 years?
Definitely. When we go to, so we have so much that we could share with you. One of them is, like when Brian first started in solar, 15 years ago, the price of solar was at $10 a watt, and now it's under $1 a watt for just the solar panels. The same thing is happening right now with the batteries. So in the next 5 years, batteries are going to go down. Whenever we go to a conference, it's like 65% batteries. Like everybody's making batteries. They're getting more, cheaper and more efficient. And people are coming up with. There's actually a company in Petaluma that's doing a battery that the chemistry of the battery is based on the chemistry of the human body. There's some really cool stuff happening in batteries right now, and it's definitely going to be much cheaper in the next 5 years.
I would put a caveat on that, in that just like solar, it's going to track just like solar, where the cost goes down dramatically. But there was a period there between 2005 and 2008 where solar was growing really rapidly, and there was silicon supply shortages, and so there would be momentary spikes in price. And so we might have momentary spikes in battery prices as well as those supply chains grow to a massive scale. And so it's hard to say that in 3 years they'll be cheaper. I know in 10 years, absolutely, without a doubt, huge amounts cheaper. But there will be ripples between, in the next few years as the market grows.
I'll just add too that 30% tax credit that the federal government offers through the IRA is still good for another 9 years. So, a lot of times when I'm working with customers on how to prioritize what they're doing, especially if there's a financial consideration, batteries are an easy thing to put on the back burner, because not only are they going to get cheaper, but also that 30% tax credit is not going anywhere, anytime soon that we know of, that we can predict.
All right, well, I want to thank our speakers tonight for an excellent I wanted to do the solar because I was so confused about solar, and this has really been helpful, at least to me, so I really appreciate the content and the questions that everybody posed tonight. We've got some homework for you. When you came in tonight, there was an evaluation form. Please fill that out and leave it with us when you come back. I want to point out that we're taking the summer break as far as workshops, but we're going to have a film series, and the films are indicated over there, one a month, and so that'll be fun. We'll show the films at the University of Redlands, have a discussion. There we go. We're going to have a neighborhood action meeting coming up June 14th to help organize various individual neighborhoods in Redlands. And then these are the topics that are workshops that are going to start in the fall. Food waste will be an interesting one in September. Disaster preparedness in October. November, we're going to focus on conspicuous consumption. And then in January, kind of a holistic approach to health. So appreciate you all coming out tonight. We have a book club that you can sign up and join us. We do it by Zoom once a month. Various books on climate action. And then we have a Facebook group called Waste Watchers that is giving out helpful hints to help minimize your carbon footprint. Thank you very much. See you later.